Come out, Rhaenyra! Where are you? I'm gonna feed you to your own crabs! Where are you?
In the Stepstones, the invaders remain a pressing threat as they set the islands ablaze and feed their living opponents to man-eating crabs. Eventually, Daemon decides to wage war against them and rides 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐸𝐬𝐸. Using his dragon, the prince sets the field on fire and burns many of the raiders. Seeing this, the men led by the crab feeder retreat to a nearby cave, where 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐻 can't reach them. Coordinating a counterattack, the invaders launch a series of fiery arrows at the dragon, prompting Daemon to retreat from the battlefield. With that, the raiders gain the upper hand and keep pressing deep into the Stepstones. 3 years later, the war still persists on the islands, but things have taken a vastly different turn in King's Landing. Alicent and Viserys have since married, with the new queen having given the king a son, Aegon II. Celebrating the prince's second birthday, Viserys has invited all of the great lords and ladies to the event. During the celebration, news of the Stepstones War reaches Viserys. From the reports, he learns that Daemon and Corlys are losing their battle against the crab feeder, and will surely fail if they do not receive reinforcements soon. Despite the pressing matter, Viserys postpones making a decision, and instead focuses solely on Aegon's birthday. To celebrate, the king announces a hunting exercise will be held later that day, as the guests wine and dine lavishly. Outside the party, Rhaenyra worries about Rhaenys's prediction and fears her days as heir are numbered, now that Viserys has a son. The subject brings animosity between the princess and Alicent, as Viserys also gets estranged from his daughter. Worried about her future, the king decides the best course of action is to find Rhaenyra a husband. Screening candidates, he settles on Jason Lannister, the Lord of House Lannister, a great Westerosi family. With the king's permission, Jason meets Rhaenyra and tries to woo her, but the princess is unimpressed by his tactics. Realizing Viserys is trying to wed her off, Rhaenyra grows furious and angrily confronts her father. The princess expresses she has no desire to get a husband, but Viserys argues it is the duty of every royal to get married. While father and daughter get into a heated quarrel, Otto interjects to deliver some exciting news. The King's Hand announces an ultra-rare white stag has been sighted ahead of the hunting exercise. He explains the stag is regarded as a royal beast and would be the perfect kill to celebrate Aegon's birthday. While Viserys is distracted by Otto's news, Rhaenyra races out of the party and mounts a horse as she flees the scene. Seeing the princess leave the premises, Sir Criston chases after Rhaenyra and manages to calm her down. Later that night, the duo sets camp in the forest and briefly discusses Westeros' politics. Before the conversation can go any further, Sir Criston hears a strange sound from a nearby bush and heads to investigate. Moments later, a wild boar appears and charges at the startled knight, tripping him to the ground. With Sir Criston on the floor, the savage animal goes after Rhaenyra and aggressively attacks her. While the princess struggles with the boar, Criston strikes it from behind, burying a sword into its neck. The attack momentarily stuns the boar, but the savage animal eventually regains consciousness and moves to get up. However, before it can do this, Rhaenyra lunges at the hog and stabs it repeatedly with a knife as the animal's blood sprays over her face. Meanwhile, back at the party, Viserys is still disturbed over Rhaenyra's future and seeks the counsel of his trusted advisors. In a quest to find an ideal suitor, Otto suggests the princess marry her half-brother, Aegon. Unlike most cultures, Targaryens don't find incest taboo, as they often marry their direct relatives to keep the bloodline pure. As a result, Otto proposes Aegon as the ideal candidate and explains the union would quell any dispute concerning the throne's succession. Hearing this, Viserys instantly turns the idea down, as Aegon is only 2 years old and way too young to be Rhaenyra's husband. Minutes later, Lionel Strong, member of the Small Council as Master of Laws and one of the king's advisors, comes up with an alternate candidate. He details Corlys has a son named Sir Laenor, and theorizes he would be the best match for Rhaenyra, as he's the heir to House Velaryon. He has access to Westeros' largest fleet and would bolster Rhaenyra's military might. Gauging the proposal, the king believes Laenor to be the best match for his daughter and decides to consider it. The following day, Viserys learns his subjects have captured a stag and heads to the forest to see it. There, he realizes the creature isn't the coveted white stag they had traced, but an average one. With the hunting exercise coming to a close, Viserys settles for the substitute and kills it in honor of Aegon's birthday. Meanwhile, at the other end of the forest, Rhaenyra and Criston run into the white stag, symbolizing the princess to be true royalty and perhaps even the best suited heir. Seeing the stag, Criston moves to kill it, but Rhaenyra stops him, allowing the royal creature to safely return to the forest. Once it's gone, the duo heads back to the camp as Aegon's celebration comes to a close. The next day, Viserys finally addresses the ongoing war against the invaders and sends reinforcements to aid Daemon and Corlys. The king also meets with Rhaenyra as the duo finally irons out their grievances. Viserys apologizes for trying to marry her off without her consent and offers Rhaenyra the liberty to choose a husband herself. He also clears the air on the throne's succession and vows never to replace Rhaenyra as heir to the throne. Hearing this, the princess grows relieved of her position and finally reconciles with her father. Over at the Stepstones, Laenor, Corlys, and his brother, Vaemond, brainstorm plans to defeat the raiders. With the Valyrians outnumbered, coupled with dwindling food supplies, they are on the edge of losing the war. Daemon's dragon doesn't help much either, as the attackers hide in caves, safe from aerial attacks. Later that day, Viserys' guards deliver a letter to Daemon from the king. Reading the text, the prince learns Viserys is sending reinforcements to help him in the war. Frustrated over his helpless situation, Daemon beats up the messenger and proudly resolves to win the war without Viserys' help. He storms the battlefield solo and waves a white flag to lure the raiders out of the caves. Spotting him from a distance, the invaders approach Daemon and surround him from all sides. However, before they can reach him, Laenor, atop his dragon, Sea Smoke, appears and burns the vulnerable raiders, giving the Valyrians the upper hand. With the invaders out of their caves, the Valyrian army charges onto the field as both parties go against each other. Amidst the chaos, Daemon spots the crab feeder retreating into the caves and follows him. Wasting no time, Daemon follows him and promptly defeats him, dragging the crab feeder's severed body outside, signaling the end and victory of the 3-year war, without the aid of the crown.